A former Trump Organization executive has broken her silence and is sharing intimate details about Donald Trump. She did an MSNBC interview where she talked about Donald Trump's religious beliefs. She gave Joe Biden some advice for his upcoming debate against Donald Trump on how to get under his skin. And she revealed an allegation against Donald Trump that is quite shocking. I'll tell you guys all about it. Barbara Rez worked for the Trump Organization for almost 20 years, rising all the way to the rank of executive vice president. So it's safe to say that she has some intimate knowledge about Donald Trump. And she had nothing but bad things to say about him in her interview on MSNBC. First up was a question about Donald Trump's religious beliefs. Listen to this.
What do you make of his embrace, seemingly, of religion and the religious right's embrace of him? How come nobody's treating this like the unusual thing that it is?
His embrace of religion is absolute nonsense. I mean, he used to hate Christmas because he had to go to church one day. He was an agnostic or maybe an atheist. I mean, he mocked religious people. He thought they were, stupid for believing in things that were obviously intellectually to him not true.
No shocker there that Donald Trump doesn't believe a word that comes out of his own mouth about religion. I love her story about Christmas, that Trump couldn't stand it because he has to go to church for one day. Trump doesn't even try to pretend to go to church. Meanwhile, Biden goes every single week, and the religious right seems to believe Trump is more committed to their cause. Incredible. He also had some thoughts about the religious right.
As far as the right is concerned, the religious right, I mean, I have lived for a long time, and I've always known that these people were fundamentally dishonest, that they were using God and the Ten Commandments and stuff just to promote their own interests. And as far as caring for others, and especially like Black and Puerto Rican children that were starving, and as far as doing anything beyond the limits of their own church, it didn't exist. They had no spirit of love. There was no community. There was hatred. There was always hatred, and it's the hatred that runs the support of Trump, the hatred of gays, the hatred of interfering with owning guns, the hatred of homosexuals. And that's, basically why they are supporting him. It has nothing to do with God. If any of these people truly believed in God, and I unfortunately or fortunately had to go to Catholic school and know a little bit about the Bible, they would see that they're just breaking every law that was ever written.
Boy, she really nailed it when it comes to the religious right and them being united around hatred. Where is the compassion from this group? You think they'd be the most compassionate out of everyone out there as they try to understand their fellow man, but nope. She then went on to talk about how Donald Trump has changed over the years. And again, as somebody that worked closely with him for almost 20 years, she would have some fantastic insight into that.
Tell me about the difference between the Donald Trump that you're seeing today on TV this week versus the Donald Trump you worked for. Are you seeing something unusual? Obviously, we're not in a position to diagnose things. It's not something one can do on TV. But as somebody who knew him, do you see a difference in his behavior?
Yeah, I do. I see him. Here's the big difference. If you read my book, you can sort of follow it year by year. He used to listen to people. He used to take advice. He used to think that there were others who might know a little bit more about a subject than he does. That is gone. He listens to nobody. He truly believes that he knows more than anybody about anything. So, in a sense, there's no control. There's no controlling him. And he says what comes to his mind, and whatever that is, he thinks it's brilliant to begin with when he says it. And the only time he appears to have been under any kind of control was during the trial, and even then he wasn't really very good. I wish, and I don't know if Biden even thought of this or his team, I wish they would goad him and make him go nuts, because when he goes nuts, he's real crazy.
This part is fantastic. How do you get under Donald Trump's skin? She had some great tips for Joe Biden for his upcoming debate with Donald Trump.
So what does goading him look like in that kind of environment? What's the kind of thing in this day and age that even gets to Donald Trump? Because some of us believe that he's absent shame. He doesn't have anything that will embarrass him.
I'll tell you one real quick funny story. I worked for him for a long time, and I worked for him because he never turned on me, and then he finally did. And that day I quit. But we were in a big meeting, and he was accusing me of something, and he was ranting, Barbara did this, Barbara. I said, Donald, there are things you can take for that. And he really got crazy. I mean, his face turned red. And it was wrong for me to say that. It was terribly disrespectful. But that's the kind of thing, to get under his skin, to make him feel that you think he needs help. Yes, Donald, it's okay. And if you do, take some pills for this, you'll calm down a little bit. Maybe something like that. The other thing could possibly be his support for the people that committed crimes on January 6th. Maybe if he goes after that, do you really believe it was okay to squeeze that policeman's head in the doors and that kind of thing? Maybe he'll get a little on edge and react. Yes, and the reaction will be great.
That's some pretty good advice right there. Try to get under Donald Trump's skin to get a reaction out of him. I don't think people are counting on Joe Biden being the aggressor in the upcoming debate, but I could easily see it happening. Remember, Joe Biden won the previous 2 debates. That's why nobody ever talks about the 2020 debates between Biden and Donald Trump. And Joe Biden is taking his debate prep very seriously. He's dedicated a whole week to boot camping for this debate. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if Joe Biden dominates this debate and Donald Trump looks incoherent and everything that the right has been saying about Joe Biden. Now, this is the part of the interview where Barbara was asked about all these crazy things that Donald Trump has been saying lately. And it reminded her of a story where Donald Trump said something in front of her and some other executives that was so shocking, it left the whole room stunned.
The other day, carrying on about being electrocuted versus being eaten by sharks, did he do this when you worked for him?
A little bit, but he was a little saner then, to be honest with you. But yeah, he would make ridiculous remarks. The thing about Hannibal Lecter, it was not like he was praising him so much as he was joking about him. Like, it was funny that Hannibal Lecter ate people. And it reminds me of a time when we had just hired a residential manager, a German guy, and Donald was bragging among us, to us executives, 3 or 4 of us, how great the guy was. And he was a real German, and he was so neat and clean. And then he looked at a couple of our executives who happened to be Jewish, and he said, watch out for this guy. He sort of remembers the ovens, smiling. Everybody was shocked. I mean, I couldn't believe he said that, but he was making a joke about the Nazi ovens and killing people. And that's the way he was. He was making a joke about Hannibal Lecter and eating people as if that was funny, as that was appropriate.
Well, as shocking as it is to hear these things came out of Donald Trump's mouth, I'm not surprised in the least. I think there's going to be a parade of people, just like Barbara Rez, coming forward between now and the November election to tell their stories about how terrible Trump is. People are realizing just how crazy a second Trump presidency would be, and they're going to do everything they can to prevent that from happening. And I think this upcoming debate versus Joe Biden will be a stark reminder for many, many Americans about just how dangerous Donald Trump would be as president once again.